for Will Smith my whole life. I root for this motherfucker, okay? And now I watch Emancipation just to see him get whooped.
Picture a guy who pulled in over $10 billion at the box office, became the first rapper ever to grab a Grammy, then torched 2 decades of goodwill in about 3 seconds on live TV in front of the entire planet. That's Will Smith. And trust me, that's not even the weirdest part of his story. This dude used to be one of the most beloved actors walking the earth. Now his name shows up online, mostly next to the word cringe. After that Oscars night that already lives in infamy, Big Willie decided it was the perfect time to crawl back into music and remind everybody that he started as a rapper first. Simple idea, disastrous execution. Instead of a triumphant return, we got something that hit the internet like watching your uncle try to breakdance at a wedding. Hip-hop fans were not having it, not even a little. People are looking at Will's rap comeback less like a fresh chapter, and more like a man frantically trying to rewind a tape that already snapped. So everybody keeps circling the same questions. How did this guy jump from rap pioneer to Hollywood juggernaut in the first place? Why did so many rappers spend years calling him soft? And how did Jada Pinkett's relationship drama end up wrecking Will's image worse than any diss track ever could? We also gotta unpack how every time Will tried to look like a regular, relatable guy online, the internet flipped it into a brand new meme cycle within hours. Then there's the giant elephant stomping around the room, the Oscars meltdown that rewrote his entire legacy in one swing. Plenty of people think years of bottled up shame, public roasting, and quiet pressure finally exploded that night, and when his newest album dropped, things somehow got even uglier. Fans immediately started asking if heavyweights like Jay-Z and Kendrick Lamar deliberately kept their distance from this whole comeback.
To Jay, and I talked to Kendrick, and I was like, hey, I wanna get back in music. What's the advice? Jay said, don't fake your story. You gotta say what's true for you. Be true to your story. Tell your story. And that's where I got the based on a true story from Jay. And Kendrick, he paused, he said, man, just say that you always been scared to say.
Let's rewind to the 1980s. Will was still in Philadelphia, building his Fresh Prince persona from the ground up.
I've been Prince for years and years. But about 2 years ago, the DJs in the street started scratching, fresh, this is fresh. Everything was fresh. So I added the Fresh Prince onto my name.
Alongside his partner, DJ Jazzy Jeff, he became one of the most recognizable young rappers in the game almost overnight. Dude wasn't even out of high school yet when his first hit, Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble, was already echoing out of every car stereo. Unlike most rappers running around at the time, Will built his whole image around being clean-cut, funny, and family safe. No cursing, no street tough act, just bright energy and pure charisma. That approach made him visible fast. Gangsta rap was getting darker and meaner by the month, and Will slid right into that safe mainstream lane radio stations and TV networks were thirsty for. Before long, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince were sharing stages with legends like Run DMC and Public Enemy. Then, in 1989, history flipped. Will became the first rapper ever to win a Grammy, thanks to Parents Just Don't Understand. But even back then, you could already hear the grumbling in the background. To plenty of hip-hop heads, the industry only handed Will that trophy because he was safe, while ignoring the raw street records that were actually reshaping the culture. Around that same window, NWA dropped Straight Outta Compton, and Public Enemy was making politically loaded music that hit like a brick through a windshield. To the critics, Will's Grammy felt like the industry picking bubblegum over Backbone. None of it slowed him down though, not even slightly. After catastrophic money management left him owing millions to the IRS, Will got the kind of opportunity that turns a life completely sideways. The lead role on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The show detonated instantly. Within months, Will went from rapper to full-blown Hollywood star. By the mid-1990s, he was everywhere. Bad Boys, Men in Black, Independence Day, later, I Am Legend. Every studio wanted him because his name on a poster basically guaranteed monstrous box office numbers. Whether people respected that Grammy or not, nobody could argue against the fact that Will Smith had become a global superstar. But underneath all the money and the fame, one word kept trailing him like a shadow he couldn't outrun: soft. In the 1990s, hip-hop transformed completely. The culture started rewarding authenticity, grit, and raw storytelling way more than polished radio hits. The Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac Shakur became icons because they felt real to listeners in a way Will's squeaky clean image never could. Will still kept pumping out big records like Miami and Gettin' Jiggy With It, but to rap purists, his music started sounding like it came off an assembly line compared to what was happening in the streets. The gap between Will and the new generation kept widening, and by the early 2000s, plenty of folks were already filing his rap career under outdated. Then Eminem walked in and turned the whole genre upside down. Eminem was the exact opposite of Will Smith in every way that mattered: controversial, reckless, offensive, allergic to anything labeled family-friendly.
I made a commitment a long time ago to my grandmother, the type of person I was going to be, the type of music I was going to make, the type of movies I was going to make. I made a commitment to my grandma.
On The Real Slim Shady, Eminem fired a direct shot, basically saying Will Smith doesn't have to curse on his records to sell, but he does. That line became legendary overnight and quietly humiliated Will because everybody on the planet kept repeating it. Meanwhile, Will's music career was clearly losing altitude. His album Born to Reign in 2002 sold way worse than his earlier projects. He still owned Hollywood, but music fans were quietly unsubscribing from his career, and those soft jokes were obviously chewing him up from the inside year after year. In 2005, Will finally clapped back at Eminem with the song Mr. Nice Guy, trying to flex his success and act unbothered. Honestly though, the very fact that he responded basically confirmed Eminem had hit something deep. Years later, in a 2022 interview, Will openly admitted that being called soft genuinely got to him. He even shared a story about his grandmother scribbling a note in his rap notebook telling him that intelligent people don't need profanity to express themselves. That single lesson shaped his entire image from day one. Even DJ Jazzy Jeff has admitted that crowds at their shows would cheer wildly for him, but sometimes boo Will the second he stepped on stage, because hardcore rap fans never fully accepted the Fresh Prince persona. No matter how many movies he sold out worldwide, that insecurity about being respected in hip-hop never really went away, and things only got uglier once his marriage turned into public spectacle. Will married actress Jada Pinkett Smith in 1997, and for years they looked like the perfect Hollywood power couple. But behind closed doors, there was always one shadow looming over Will: Tupac Shakur. Jada and Tupac had a ridiculously deep connection that traced all the way back to their days together at the Baltimore School of the Arts. She was creatively wrapped up in his career and even popped up in some of his early projects. Jada is reportedly part of the inspiration behind ideas in the legendary California Love video. Their bond became one of the most talked about friendships in hip-hop history. What made it worse for Will was how openly Jada kept talking about Tupac over the years. A lot of fans started feeling like Will was constantly stuck in a competition against a ghost. Decades after Tupac had passed, when Tupac was locked up at Rikers Island, Jada reportedly helped chip in money toward his release. At one point, Pac even allegedly asked her to marry him, which only gave the internet more ammo to roast Will with later on. Even though Tupac proposed to Jada and she never accepted, Pac made it crystal clear how much she meant to him. He once said, "Jada is my heart. She'll be my friend for my whole life. We'll be old together. Jada can ask me to do anything, and she can have it." That quote alone made people look at their connection completely differently, because it sounded way deeper than your average friendship.
Never open up to interact with Pac, you know, and because we had a little bit of a thing, right? You know, they grew up together and, you know, they loved each other, but they never had that, you know, they never had a relationship. That was a huge regret of mine. I just I couldn't handle it. You know, I was the soft rapper from Philly, right, and he was Pac.
Right.
Now I was deeply insecure, and just I wasn't man enough to handle that relationship.
But before anything could happen between them, tragedy struck. Just 1 year after that proposal, Tupac was killed in Las Vegas, and the entire hip-hop world shook. His death wrecked Jada too. Years later, she revealed they had a brutal argument shortly before he passed, and she never got the chance to patch things up with him. That guilt clearly stuck with her for decades. And honestly, the whole situation only kept making Will look smaller as time rolled on. Being in love with someone who's still emotionally tethered to a legend is a fight you can't really win, because the legend doesn't get older, doesn't mess up, doesn't disappoint anyone anymore. In his 2021 memoir, Will openly admitted he was jealous of Tupac and intimidated by his presence. He wrote that in the early days of their relationship, his mind was tortured by their connection. Even though they were never intimate, their love for each other was legendary. He also confessed that Pac's fearless personality and activism made him feel weak by comparison. For a guy at Will's level to admit that publicly is a wild kind of vulnerable. Will also revealed that every single time he was around Tupac, he basically froze up and couldn't even hold a normal conversation with him. He said the way Jada loved Pac made it impossible for him to be friends with Pac because he was too immature to handle it. To some people, that honesty made Will look more human, but to rap fans online, it just dumped more gasoline on the soft label he'd been fighting for years. Things got rougher once Jada Pinkett Smith launched Red Table Talk in 2018. The whole point of the show was radical honesty, but man, some of those conversations turned into straight public humiliation for Will.
You and I were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And we decided...
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
I was done with you.
Yeah.
Marriages have that, though. Marriages have that.
Yeah, we basically, we broke up.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, you know, I think from there, you know, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
An entanglement?
Yes. Yes.
A relationship?
Yes, it was a relationship.
For years, the couple had kept their private life locked away, and suddenly every personal issue was getting unwrapped in front of millions of viewers. Then, the biggest bomb dropped. During one viral episode, Jada admitted she had a relationship with August Alsina during a rough patch in her marriage. She famously called it an entanglement, and the internet absolutely lost its mind. Memes, jokes, endless roasting of Will Smith. Social media was cooking him 24 hours a day after that. Things got even messier when August Alsina claimed Will had known about the relationship and had supposedly given his blessing during their separation. Whether you believed him or not, the damage was already done. Then August teamed up with Rick Ross on a song literally titled Entanglements, and the lyrics had people in tears online. One line basically said the shorty leaning on his shoulder had him questioning his willpower. That was foul work. Instead of cooling things down, Will's appearance on Red Table Talk looked like watching a man get dragged through emotional concrete on live camera. People kept saying he looked defeated and humiliated while forcing a smile. Even Joe Budden publicly called out the situation and suggested Jada constantly bringing up Tupac was unhealthy for the marriage. The internet turned the whole thing into one giant punchline, and unfortunately for Will, he became the punchline almost every single time you ever watch someone slowly turn into a meme in real time. That was Will.
Started to develop, someone put in the prompt of Will Smith eating spaghetti.
Yeah,
so that
why
was
not?
like, yeah, right, yeah. So just a random thing. So that became the test of the evolution of AI video.
Yeah.
Is every couple of months they do a new prompt of Will Smith eating spaghetti, and the latest one is the first one that's absolutely perfect and photoreal.
It's mad.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was watching it earlier and I was like, I can't believe that's not you.
Yep. I'm still eating the spaghetti in 2020.
The man wasn't aging into a legend, he was aging into a comment section. Then came the moment that rewrote everything. At the 2022 Oscars, Chris Rock made a joke about Jada's shaved head while standing on stage. At first, Will was laughing right along with the rest of the room, but seconds later, he suddenly walked onto that stage and slapped Chris Rock right on live television, in front of the entire world. The whole audience froze. Millions of people watching at home couldn't process what they were seeing. One of the biggest movie stars alive had completely melted down at the most important awards show in Hollywood. The clip detonated across the internet within seconds, and within minutes, social media went into full nuclear meltdown. But here's the wildest part. That slap didn't kill the soft accusations at all. If anything, it actually made everything worse. Critics pointed out that Will had laughed at the joke first, and only reacted after seeing Jada's face. Others argued he looked emotional, unstable, and completely crushed by years of public embarrassment. No matter which side you took, his reputation took a direct hit that night that it still hasn't recovered from. And then somehow, in the middle of all this chaos, Will decided it was the perfect time to reboot his rap career. In 2024, he announced Based on a True Story, his first album in over 2 decades. Will promised the project would be way more personal and emotional than his older music. Instead of flashy radio singles, he claimed he was finally going to crack himself open open about the darkest moments of his life. Will even revealed he consulted with heavyweights like Jay-Z and Kendrick Lamar while making the project, but fans immediately clocked one thing: neither of them actually appeared on the album. That set off a wave of jokes online that even hip-hop's biggest legends were quietly keeping their distance from this whole comeback attempt. When the album finally landed, Will pulled in names like Big Sean, Joyner Lucas, Tiana Taylor, and even Sunday Service Choir connected to Kanye West. But none of it could rescue the project. Critics absolutely shredded the album, and fans barely streamed it at all. The numbers were brutal. Based on a true story, became the first Will Smith album to completely flop commercially. It didn't chart anywhere significant, which shocked plenty of people considering how massive Will used to be.
Will Smith is how old?
57.
The stimulus plan that you naming is not working today for 50-however-year-old Will Smith. I don't think this is a bad song, but we can't pump this up like this is about to do something.
Back in the day, his albums went multi-platinum. This time the internet joked that the album went triple wood instead of platinum. That's straight up disrespect. A huge reason people just ignored the project is because audiences felt completely overdosed on Will Smith drama. Between the Red Table episodes, the Oscar slap, the emotional interviews, and the non-stop viral moments, fans felt like they already knew way too much about his personal life. Instead of rooting for his comeback, plenty of people just looked exhausted by him. Still, Will keeps pushing forward with this rap comeback no matter how much clowning he gets online. Clips from his promo runs keep going viral, with critics saying he sounds like an undercover cop trying to rap his way into a bust. Even his newer single Pretty Girls got dragged badly, with one reviewer calling it a cringe-inducing cry for help. That's a brutal sentence to read about yourself. At this point, fans are split right down the middle. Some people still respect Will for everything he built across music, TV, and film. Others think his rap return looks like a midlife crisis, playing out in 4K in front of millions. Either way, one thing is obvious: Will Smith's fall from grace has been absolutely insane to watch, and nobody really knows if he can ever pull the culture back to his side again. Maybe the real problem was never that Will Smith was too soft. Maybe the problem is that he spent 40 years trying to be whatever the room wanted him to be, and now nobody, including him, remembers who the guy actually is underneath all of it. If you've made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe, and share the video. Now tell me in the comments, do you think Will Smith has one real shot left at winning hip-hop back? Or did that ship sail the second his hand connected with Chris Rock's face? Catch you in the next one.